Hi everyone, welcome back. So the topic of this video will be how I dry green stuff. So green bowls, green box blanks, spindle blanks, anything from freshly fallen logs. So these three sections here, the shelves, this one is miscellaneous stuff, mostly dry stuff, so we'll ignore that. These two shelves here contains with this box here, which I'll get in a few seconds, around 600 ruffled bowls, plates, platters, box, blanks, and so on. This is how I usually store after, let's say, a month of drying. This is how I would just throw them on the shelf. Now I do need to organize this a little bit. So here we have ash, the spalted ash, which is quite unique. Here we have some of the cherry blanks and apple blanks as well, cherry bowls, pear bowls, more of ash, and these are in the boxes, usually smaller bowls. Here I have a lot of apple spindle blanks and boards, again from the logs. Here again boards, and behind it are some big Osage orange bowls which are drying. Actually should be quite ready, and that should be a video quite soon. Here some elm, walnut, and here again some cherry, elm, walnut, and some of the beech as well. And this section here is quite a mess, so I still didn't have the time to sort of get involved into this, so constantly either filming videos or making work like this spindle here, so just in constant loop. So I will have to find time to organize this a little bit, and I maybe even do a video. However, here are more boards from the logs, from pear, a little bit of Osage orange, elm, and cherry, and I think a little bit of walnut as well. Here are mostly ash, various sizes. Here are bigger blanks, bowl blanks, and so for hollow form as well, which I'll probably do a video on. Box here contains birch bowls that I did a few videos back. So this is pretty much where I dry my stuff. Now the temperature and humidity in my shop are 75% humidity and 12 degrees Celsius. So that's actually quite good environment for drying out stuff. And this is the first step that I usually do. I would either, when this isn't here, I would either put them bowl blanks like this on the ground towards the concrete, and it sort of preserve the moisture in the bowls and not sort of letting it escape quickly, if that makes sense. What I found out in the recent years is if I do this first step, so laying the bowls on the ground, let them acclimate, let's say for a month, and then I put it on the shelf here, usually I don't have to coat them at all. So that's by coating, what I mean is you would put a green wood sealer, or what I used to do is thin down PVA glue, regular white carpenter's glue, around 10%, and then you would coat the entire thing. I don't just coat the end grain, I coat the entire thing. The important thing to note with green logs like these are full of moisture, so these were growing a week or so ago. So these are quite full of moisture. If they are not in the box like this, these are then on the ground, on the concrete. And what I do, I inspect them daily for roughly 2 weeks. And so each day I go through each of the bowls or plates or platters and inspect for any cracks. If there appearing any cracks, which usually they don't, however, if they do, then I would either finish turn that bowl, depends on how big the crack is, or if I see and I want to preserve the the full rough out stage, so later once this is dry I can get a nice cylindrical ball. Then I would coat this entire batch with thin down white glue. But first I always try without any sealer, and like I said, the recent years I've been quite lucky without any sealer at all. All of these combined, so roughly 600 rough out balls. I have that for the trash, for the fire, around maybe 5 that I've thrown out, 5 in total balls, not 5%, and maybe another 5 or 10 with a small check or split that can be filled with CA glue, but these are quite minor. So the rest of these are quite solid without any cracks or any defects, so that's what I'm after. So I want nice clear timber. So I know there will be some questions maybe regards warping. Just to clear that out, you cannot prevent warping when you process stuff like this green and want to dry it out. You cannot prevent any warping, so that's the key thing to consider. So you have to leave the thickness wall thicker so you can chew once the ball is dry. Again, just to point something out, usually the boards like these, which can become either plates or box lids or spindle blanks, anything like that, I usually coat the end. You don't have to, but I do, just for a good measure. These can be a little unpredictable, let's say, for drying. Usually the ends will split, but if you coat them, then the splits don't go far in. And again, I have quite a bit of these spindle blanks, and these will be ready in a few years to make lovely boxes or anything like that. Now, for some of the logs that maybe are on the ground for a while, for instance, for example, this ash here was almost 8 months on the compost yard waiting to be turned into chips, but I got to on time, and it didn't seep out moisture at all. It was still green, but it wasn't seeping moisture out, water, like spraying out water on the lathe, like this birch here, which was freshly fallen and got in my hands like a week after. And there are roughly 50 pieces up there, and none of them has any cracks or any defects like that. So again, you just have to find, first of all, nice decent space, preferably with a little bit higher humidity, and you can always, once the balls or the wood that you're drying, once it's sort of in an equilibrium space, with equilibrium state with the space they are in, usually after 6 months, 8 months, you can always take them out to, let's say, your shop where maybe it's a little bit less humidity and more temperature, and they will dry out to final moisture level in that space. So you can rotate it. You just have to play around, and there is no like one strict rule of thumb for drying balls. Now you can use kiln drying. You can make your own kiln, like maybe Glenn Lucas has a big containers, and you can make a little box like from this microwave oven, and dry, or from a freezer, stuff like that can be worked as a kiln. Now I usually don't like stuff from the kiln. If I can, I would use air dry stuff if I can. These are much less dustier, and but again, sometimes you cannot avoid, especially if you're buying like from the hardwood dealers. So this is a little take on how I dry green stuff. Hopefully this will help you out a little bit. Again, you just have to try out with the space you are in or where you can dry, so just experiment a little bit. And now another key point to add is, when do you get fallen trees or when they were fallen down? For instance, the birch here, was knocked down in the winter, and even with that it still had really a lot of moisture in it. So you can imagine in a summer when there is a lot more moisture food in the tree, in the logs, it will be even more wet, let's say. And usually when you put stuff like that really holds a lot of moisture in on the lathe, it will like seep through even without spinning. So that's something to note as well. I usually always turn rough out bowls in the winter or late autumn. So that's my let's say goal for the year. I always start usually at the end of the autumn and throughout the winter. Now if I get a nice log in the summer, then obviously I won't throw it away or anything like that. I would process it, but I have to make sure again to babysit for 2 weeks at least to see if there is any cracks appearing or anything like that. So again, this is another video of me just talking without turning. However, I think this is quite important thing, and hopefully these little keynotes will help you out with drying your stuff. And again, you can always put the stacks in your favor by coating the tire bowls and place them on the ground. That way you are preventing or giving your best to prevent any cracks. There is other alternatives like paper bags with shavings and stuff like that. I usually don't do that. For me that's cumbersome, because then I will have for this box here 20 or so paper bags laying around with shavings inside, which then I have to switch around every few weeks. So for me that's not ideal option, but it's an option maybe for you. So just think about that and think about how much moisture the timber or the log that you're processing has, so that also sort of directs you in a way how you're going to dry your bowls without possibly any cracks. Hopefully this little video will help you out with the drying process. Again, this is how I do it, and again I have maybe it's even actually less than 1% of rejects or bowls that are thrown away. Usually, at least with this stack here from 2 years, all the bowls that I've thrown out are plum. Plum is quite notorious for splitting and checking, and it's really wild in that term. So the best thing for plum is just to finish turn it as fast as you can, or thin it down at least, so it will usually warp then the crack. So again, hopefully this little video will help you out on your journey, and sorry again for the talking video, but I thought this will be a good sort of video to show you and tell you how I dry rough out stuff. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.